And now for my next number, I'd like to return to the
classic. Time.
What's up, guys? It's Alex back again. I'm actually having to do a video in two parts. I don't like doing haul videos in two parts, really, but my pal's kind of big to do in one sitting. So what I've decided to do is sit down and kind of just show you guys the stuff I got in London, and then in the next video I'll just do like a roundup of everything I've got locally. So why did I go to London? Well, I actually had two concerts in the space of 2 weeks. What happened was one of the concerts was for one of my favorite bands, and one of the gigs was also for one of my favorite modern rappers. Hopefully I can get footage from both in this video. If I can't, I apologize, but if I can, there you go. You guys are excused. Anyways, there is a reason I'm doing this now, and that's because on both trips I went to the same store, because the same one store was about 10 minutes away. On my first trip, the store was 10 minutes away from the venue. A 10-minute walk in the opposite direction from the venue, but a 10-minute walk back. So it wasn't too bad. It seemed longer than 10 minutes because I kept checking my phone for the direction. Anyway, so yeah, first time I went, I was only 10 minutes away from the store, so I thought I might as well go. This is under a recommendation from David Michael, aka Naz Nomad. He recommended that I go to Flashback Records in Islington. I have a tote bag to show it. They actually have 3 different stores in the London area, but from what David said, the one in Islington is the best one. It's the most convenient one for me because it was 10 minutes away from one venue and not too far away from the second. The first one, I had a very small budget. I didn't have that much because obviously I wanted to get merch from the band, but they sold out of merch they allegedly sold out of merch when they got there. So I'm hoping that I can get. I mean, I've already got merch anyway because I've seen the band once before. I say band. What I really mean is it's just one guy with a backup band when he tours. Group called Vancouver Sleep Clinic. I've talked about it before on my channel. I did an unboxing of their album when I got it last year or the year before when their album came out. The weird thing is their second album only came out in Australia, so I can't get it over here unless I do some digging. I'm going to have to find a website somewhere in Europe. It's just somewhere in Europe that sells it if I can. But hopefully I can find a copy of that on vinyl. If not, I'll just listen to it on MP3. It's no big deal. But I'd rather have the vinyl. Anyways, before I keep rambling on, I visited the store on Monday the 25th of November, and then again on the 3rd, because those were the 2 dates of my concerts. And I went up to London early so I could go digging just before the gig and the doors of the gig opened. And on my first trip, I only really picked up 2 things, because I didn't want to spend too much in the store because I wanted money left over for merch, and there wasn't any merch left. So, and the store was closed by the time the gig finished anyway. So I'm going to stop rambling on. I actually picked up 2 promo copies. I shared these both on Facebook. But yeah, I picked up 2 promo copies of stuff when I was in Flashback Records the first time around. And I managed to pick up, luckily, a 12-inch promo for Q-Tip's Breathe and Stop. Now, if you're a hip-hop fan, you know this. It's a white label promo. Comes with the radio mix, the instrumental, the club mix, which is probably the best one because it's got all the swears in it, if there are any. I don't really remember at this point. And then it's also got the acapella. So, yeah, American pressing import. The American 12-inch singles for hip-hop tend to come with the acapellas. We didn't really get the acapellas here in the UK. What we ended up getting was different mixes and like an instrumental. But yeah, no, there's Q-Tip's Breathe and Stop. Maybe my favorite Q-Tip song. It's either this or NT, which are both on his Amplified album. But to buy that album is like really expensive, whereas I can just buy all the 12s I like off the album and happy days. Please, guys, could somebody reissue Amplified already? I mean, I love the album, but not enough to pay the money it goes for on Discogs. But yeah, there's a Q-Tip, Breathe and Stop, 12-inch promo. Love that one. And the other thing I made sure I grabbed is something that's been on my wants list for so long that I kind of... You know when something's on your wants list for so long that you almost give up hopes of ever trying to find a copy. Now, this is not a very expensive album, but it is a rare one you just don't see here in the UK, and that's D-Train's You're the One For Me album. Now, it has got a cutout on the corner, but I don't mind because obviously, I've said it before, I'll say it again, I don't play the cover as much as I can, no matter how hard I try, no music just comes out of the cover. Some cover wear, but that doesn't matter to me. Flip it over and you can kind of see in the top, if you look very carefully, you can still see some of the gold stamp. So yes, this is also a gold stamp promo copy. I love finding these, particularly because, you know, promo copies, for those who don't know, DJs love promo copies of stuff because the grooves are always deeper on the promo copies because they're the first ones to get cut, obviously, so the grooves are always deeper, so the sound is better and they last a bit longer. So yeah, DJs love promo copies for that reason. I myself love promo copies, being somewhat a soul DJ, but yeah, D-Train's You're the One For Me, happy to own it. So stoked to own it. Alright, let's move on to my second trip. So after that first trip, I did go to see Vancouver Sleep Clinic, who were actually backed by Arctic Lake. I regret not getting any footage for Arctic Lake because I obviously wasn't too familiar with their work. I hadn't heard them before. I found out they were opening for Vancouver Sleep Clinic. What I did do was research them after, because I managed to, not only did I manage to meet the members of Vancouver Sleep Clinic, I met the lead singer of Arctic Lake as well, outside of the venue. I was on my way back to the tube station, which is just over the road from the garage where they were playing, and I managed to catch her outside just before she went back inside to pack everything up for their move to the next city. So yeah, they were really nice people, very, very nice people. If you like chilled music, like chilled electronic ambient sort of stuff, I recommend checking out both bands because they are both incredibly talented. I love them. I wish I could. I'm definitely going to go and see Arctic Lake again. Vancouver Sleep Clinic, I've seen them twice. I don't know if I will see them again. I know the tickets aren't particularly expensive, so maybe I will, maybe I won't, who knows. But I know I definitely want to go and see Arctic Lake again. They were phenomenal.
Your body's broken to try and fight this. Your arms are weary, you're trying to light this. It's growing faster than you've grown, and now you're stronger than yourself. But I'm fighting for you, and I'm hiding for you. Your body's killing me, I love you.
To get to the finds from the second trip to London. This time I was actually at a gig in Camden. Because the gig didn't start at 7, or well, doors opened to the gig at 7. I made sure I got to London just so there was enough time for me to go and grab some stuff from Flashback. And I had a bigger budget this time around because I'd been saving up over the week, you know, a week's wages from the store and that. And there was one thing I had to leave behind that killed me to leave it behind because it was just screaming my name. And luckily, they still had it in store when I went back to get it the following Tuesday. Yeah. Blackbird by Donald Byrd, but a Japanese pressing on Blue Note. And this is a very nice copy. Not only have I never seen this album, I own very few Japanese pressings, especially with ones with Obi strips. I have a Japanese single somewhere of Yazoo, and I have a Japanese best of Hall & Oates, which I've shown on the channel before. But this is my first, like, major like Japanese pressing, and you guys will see this. Comes with that classic Japanese inner with all the words in Japanese. Shame I can't read Japanese. I would love to be able to speak Japanese and Korean, but I can't. I would love to though. And then there's the Blue Note label. That I think that's the Japanese Blue Note label. It must be because it's a Japanese pressing. But this is a very, very clean copy. Very clean. And for the price, I was shocked even I had to leave it behind. If I had known that Vancouver Sleep Clinic were going to run out of merch, I'd have bought this there and then I would have been able to buy something else from the store instead of this. Or maybe not spend as much as I did that day. But yeah, this was great. It was kind of fate that this was still sitting there, particularly that I had to travel a long way, like 50 minutes on the train, one stop on the tube, and then I had to go back one stop on the tube, change to a different line, and then go 2 stops on the tube to my next venue, to the next location after visiting the store. But yes, 1 stop on the train from the train station, or 1 stop on the tube from St Pancras in London. Well worth the trip, but if I wasn't going back to London, I might have had to have made a phone call and have them post it down, because this was way too good to have left behind. And I don't even know why I did the first time, but I'm happy it was there the second time. So yes, finally I own another Japanese pressing, and it's for an album that I really like, and it adds more jazz to the collection as well, which I always need more jazz in my collection, so I'm super stoked about this one. Love it. Great album, and I've seen this floating around in the VC recently as well, so it's nice to finally pick that one up. Great album. I don't normally pick up singles from other stores. I'm usually looking for albums and 12-inch singles, but I found a couple of 7s that were too good to leave behind. First one is Brass Construction, Moving, Backed with Talking. I do have the album with both of these songs on it, but if you're a DJ, you know the quality on some albums is just not good enough to play out in certain locations. Obviously in small pubs like I usually play at, or small pubs and bars, it's fine, but I rather would have the 7-inch, especially one in this sort of condition, like super clean. So yeah, happy to own some Brass Construction on 7-inch. The other 7-inch I grabbed, the other 7-inch I grabbed is one I needed for the collection because I didn't own anything from this group, and that's the MFSB's We Got the Time, and it has the same track on both sides, but comes with both the stereo and mono mixes. I didn't have anything from this group. White label, promo, Philadelphia Records. Anything on the Philadelphia Records label, I pick it up because I know anything on that label, I'm going to like it. Because it's the same label as Teddy Pendergrass, as OJ's, Billy Paul's on that label, MFSB's are obviously on that label. There's so much good stuff on that label. If you're trying to get into soul music, look for this label, the Philadelphia International Records label, because this label has nothing bad on it. So yeah, nice to own this. Some, I guess, falls in the lines of disco funk, boogie funk. Well, not boogie funk, but disco funk, I guess. But yeah, incredible pickup there. Unfortunately, it does skip on the stereo side, but that's fine because I can switch between the two. It might just need a little clean, who knows? But nice to finally own some MFSBs in my collection. I'll get to that one last, actually. I'll show you the 12-inch singles I picked up. I got 3 of them. Kicking things off with Michael Jackson's Don't Stop Till You Get It Up on 12-inch. I did not own this on 12-inch, surprisingly. I own everything else, but not this. It's backed with I Can't Help It. So, of course, and whoever owned it before has written the beats per minute on the back, which I don't use that too much. I just go by ear, like, oh, this kind of sounds similar to this, sounds the same tempo as this, so I could play this over the top. Makes things very difficult for me, but yeah, finally own a copy of Don't Stop Till You Get Enough. I have a lot of Michael stuff on 7-inch anyway, a couple of pieces on 12-inch, but not this. I only had the album for this, so I'm glad I finally owned the 12-inch. And I Can't Help It, both on the Off the Wall album. So yeah, super stoked to finally own that one. Very nice copy of that. Next up, Evelyn King, I'm in Love. This was a big track back in the soul scene here in England as well, from 1981, and is backed with The Other Side of Love. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get needle drops of this stuff in. I'll try, but again, no promises here. But this is on the RCA label. Evelyn Champagne King, she kind of falls in the same vein as well. She's worked with Kashif, who is somebody I talk about a lot on my channel. So yeah, she's worked with Kashif and all those people. So definitely worth giving it a listen if you like the Kashif stuff I've shared with you before. Very, very good stuff. Very, very good. Next up, final 12-inch, Curtis Erston's I Want Your Lovin' Just a Little Bit. Now, if you don't know Curtis Erston by name, you might know him from the group he was in, the SOS Band. He had one solo album after he left the SOS Band, and this is probably the best song on that solo album, or at least the biggest song on that solo album, so I had to pick it up. It's a reissue, but I don't mind these London recordings reissues because most of them sound pretty good. It's just got a dub mix on the flip. But yes, finally super stoked to own a copy of this on 12-inch because I didn't own this before. So yeah, very, very nice to have that. And as I was talking about Kashif before, another guy who has worked with him, and a guy who's out again, his albums are probably harder to find than Kashif's because he only had like 3 or 4 albums, I think. Maybe 3, more likely 3. But he has worked a lot with Melba Moore and Paul Lawrence, who also worked with Kashif. So there's the link there, but we won't get into that now. This is Lila Thomas with his album, Let Me Be Yours. I picked this up purely and simply because 1 is Lila Thomas and 2 it's produced by Paul Lawrence. I didn't know any of the songs on this album. Which is a shame, but it's an American pressing, American import, I guess, because it's got the clip, although it was probably a dollar bin find back then. It's on the Capitol label because he was on Capitol. Love that rainbow label. But yeah, 1983, this album. He had another one in 84, and he had one in 87. He might have had one more in between the 84 and 87 ones, but I can't remember off the top of my head. But yes, Lila Thomas finally owned another one of his albums. There's, like I said, there's one or two I'm still missing, but so stoked to own this finally, because anything along this sort of soul, this was classes, kind of classes boogie funk, but it's like synth-based soul music, synth-based R&B, anything along these sort of lines, I'm going to pick it up because that's the type of music I love. Anyway, the second gig, because I saw Vancouver Sleep Clinic 1 week. The next week, after I did that little dig of the Donald Byrd, the Lila Thomas, and everything else, I had to jump on the tube at Highbury and Islington Station, go back to St Pancras, swap, change the line I was on from the Victoria line onto the Northern line to go to Camden, which is 2 stops. So luckily it wasn't too far. And I went off to see Denzel Curry. You might not know Denzel Curry. If you don't, that's fine. He is one of my favorite modern rappers, and I spent all of the concert, more or less, in the mosh pit. So I hardly got any footage. I was able to get maybe 1 or 2 decent photos when the mosh pit calmed down a bit. And for the very last song, I moved to the back of the room so I could get some footage because it was just too crazy, and I did not want to risk losing my phone in the roundhouse, because although people were very nice there, and someone did lose their phone, people were trying to look for the guy who lost his phone, waving the phone around. Phone, who's lost a phone? I wasn't doing that. I didn't want to lose my phone. I wouldn't be able to record this video for you guys right now if I had. Anyways, thank you guys so much for tuning into this video. And with that said and done, I'm going to quit rambling. I'm going to let you guys get off, and I will see you guys again, quite literally, very soon. Peace.
Hey,